Hey guys, Paula here. Welcome back to the Flavorful Home. I am doing a very impromptu video on making focaccia because I'm in a collab for tailgating and I need it for my sandwich that I'm going to be sharing. This recipe is from Natasha over at Natasha's Kitchen, so all credit goes to her. I will put a link in the description box so that you can go right to her channel and print it up because she does a printable link so that you can have this recipe. I have made it several times. It is delicious and it makes this awesome sandwich that I'll be sharing in another video. You need 1.5 cups of water. That's between 105 and 115 so you can get your yeast going a bit. You need honey, a teaspoon of honey for that. You need a packet of yeast. I keep mine in here in the freezer. Freezer is great for bulk yeast. When you're doing that, one packet, if you didn't know, is 2¼ teaspoons. So you need 2¼ teaspoons of instant yeast or rapid rise yeast. If you have regular yeast, it just needs a little bit more to bloom. You need 3¾ cups of flour. You need a tablespoon of olive oil. You could use extra virgin if you choose. And then you need a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil for the pan when you're putting it out. And then for your topping, she calls for 2 tablespoons of the olive oil, 2 tablespoons of water, 2 cloves of garlic that you're going to mince up, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Oh, and in the focaccia dough, you need 1.5 teaspoons of salt as well. I don't know if I said that or not. But like I said, in the description box is all linkable recipe. This is rosemary. She calls for fresh. This was fresh and I dried it. Okay, you know what I say. When you're baking, you have to follow the rules. And you do, except when it comes to things like your seasoning. Maybe you want to make this a spicy focaccia and you want to kick it up with some chili pepper in the dough. I'm using dried focaccia versus dried rosemary versus fresh. And I'm also going to use a little dried thyme that I dried myself from fresh. Things like that you can play. What you can't play with is how much yeast you're going to use, or if a recipe calls for baking powder and baking soda. That's what's giving you the reaction for things to rise. But flavorings, like I said, if you want to use extra virgin olive oil, it's fine. You want to use regular olive oil, it's fine. You don't like rosemary, you prefer maybe oregano. You want Italian blend. Those are all good. So I'm going to start mixing and we'll get going. Okay, so this is instant yeast. So it doesn't really need to proof because it's instant. But I'm going to follow her recipe and do what she says here. And it's a teaspoon, and all this is doing, this teaspoon of honey is just some food for the yeast to feast on. As it grows. That's what sugar and honey do to yeast. It makes it bubble up because it's feeding it. So it's a 2¼ That was the 1/4. put the 2 teaspoons, and you're just going to let it hang out. Like I said, I keep my yeast in the freezer because I buy it in bulk, and the freezer is what keeps it nice. So you want to just get it all nice in there. All right, now let's play with the dough. Just get a napkin here. It's 3 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. That's all you need for it. And let me just pull my little baby whisk out of the drawer. You're gonna get your salt in here, and the salt is 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. I use kosher. I'd say 98% of the time, kosher salt is my go-to salt. And here's the 1/2 of a teaspoon. By the way, these are my magnetic measuring spoons. I love them because it keeps them all together. I could put a link in the description box for those too if you'd like. And then you just give that a little bit of a whisk. And let me get this is my most favorite scraper. I use this for everything. Baking, dough making. It's one piece. You never have to worry about water getting into it. I threw all my other ones away. This is my go-to. And let me just quickly show you. Can you see how bubbly it is now? And foamy. That's what happens to yeast after a couple of minutes of proofing. Hold on, let me raise you up a little bit. Okay. Fix this here. And you want your salt dispersed throughout the flour. And then you put your water in. Give it a little scrape to get any little bits. Let me move this out of the way. And you're just going to get that incorporated where there is no more dry pockets of flour and that you have a sticky dough. I've made this several times. It is just such a good and easy recipe. I use it when I do a charcuterie. It just has such a nice flavor. All right, we'll come back when this is all incorporated because then the oil has to go in. Okay, so now you can see it is a sticky, not too sticky, but it's a shaggy mess. And you're going to add a tablespoon of the olive oil. And with clean hands, which goes without saying, but don't even have jewelry on because rings can have pockets of bacteria from dirt. And you're going to just work that, I'm sorry guys, olive oil into the dough until it is completely absorbed. It actually feels nice because it's smooth and you're working that olive oil into it. Squeeze. And the olive oil is good for softening your skin too. I just will lift and push and turn it and then squeeze, and you will feel the oil become more and more incorporated. It's like playing with Play-Doh. And then once it is incorporated, you're going to cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes. And we will come back because this is a stretch and fold dough. And now it is incorporated. It is sticky. It's sticking to my hands a bit, but I really want you see what it looks like? It's kind of bumpy and shaggy. Watch how it'll transform. We'll be back in 30 minutes. Okay. You can see it has definitely puffed up a bit. I'm going to show you two different methods of stretching the dough. This first one, we're going to keep it in the bowl. I like to wet my hands with some water, both hands, and you're going to lift and pull. I'm going to just lift you a little bit so you could see that full pull. And you're walking around the bowl and you press it down. Wet your hands if it feels a little sticky. Pull, press down. And the last one. And as you get to the last, it doesn't want to stretch as much. And then I kind of just roll it. And look at that. You notice it's not that shaggy, lumpy-ish as it was. It has gotten smoother. How pretty it is. This is the first one. You're going to do 4 altogether. So we have 3 more 30-minute rests in between, and we'll come back. Okay, now for the topping, you have 2 tablespoons of water. And to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the extra virgin or just regular olive oil. All the differences between extra virgin and just regular olive oil or light olive oil is the intensity of flavor. That's all the differences. Extra virgin olive oil is a very powerful olive taste. Some people don't like it. And this is my garlic that's been minced. And I try to get it nice and fine. And it goes. When you're using your knife, try to remember to use the back end, not the cutting end, to lift. Or use a scraper because you don't want to dull your knife. Now my herbs, while dry, got crushed up too. And that is rosemary and thyme. And remember, when you are using dry in place of fresh, you need to cut it down because dry herbs are much more powerful than fresh in their taste. You could even do basil if you like. Whatever flavor profile you would like on top of your focaccia. And we got to put a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm not even going to measure. That's probably about a half a teaspoon. And you just want to get that blended up so that the flavors can kind of meld while your dough is doing its thing. And then you just set it aside. It smells a heck of good. Okay, this is another way to do a stretch. Okay, it's called slap and fold. It's kind of stretching it and fold. You get a good stretch and fold. And all that's doing is building the gluten in your bread. And look at it now. Even better than the last time. In it goes. Another 30 minutes. And we'll come back when we're ready to put it into the pan. We have 2 more stretches. Alrighty. It has had its 4 stretch and folds. And now you have to do 1/4 cup into the bottom of. Natasha calls for a non-stick baking pan, 9 by 13. I do not have a non-stick 9 by 13, and I used a hair less than 1/4 cup because that is a lot of oil. So I just want to quickly show you. Look at it, a little jiggly, and look how it rose nice. You're going to take it and put it into the pan and give it a little press. And then you're going to flip it over and then gently push it to the ends of the pan. And it'll go. If you find it's being really resistant to your stretching, then wait about 15 minutes and do it again. Anyway, about the pan, I put a little bit of parchment on the bottom because I will tell you, it does want to stick. I have had to take a spatula and really go under there to release it. And I prefer just having the parchment. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know why it sticks, but it does. And I go from the middle. That helps it a little bit to spread. And you want it to the ends of the pan. And you'll see that oil comes up. That's okay. Really work it to the corner. Get it down in there. You can tell already, it's a puffy dough. And it bakes up so lovely. If you guys don't follow Natasha, you should. She has awesome recipes. She's a really sweet gal. And remember, in the description box, I will put a link to a printable recipe. It's good to print up those recipes. I don't foresee her recipes disappearing anytime soon, and she does have a cookbook, but you never know what happens. the internet goes down and you wanted to make it and you don't have access to it. As a matter of fact, I need to reorganize my recipes. I have a binder and the sections, because it was one of those pocket sections, it's falling apart and I need to rework it. And to realistically look at what recipes I have and decide if I'm really ever even going to make some of them. I probably could throw a lot of them away. All right, that works. You cover it and it goes 40 to 60 minutes and then we'll be back. Two things quickly to show you how it looks, and I'm going to preheat my oven to 450 while this is rising. Okay, here's the fun part. And you don't have to do it this way. You could do it with a wooden spoon, but I like making the dimples in it with my fingers because it's just fun. And you just, those are the little craters that, and it really doesn't have that many air bubbles. You could just lift in case, but you do that. And then you re-whisk your topping. And oh my gosh, it smells so good. You just drizzle it over the top like so. And then I'm going to use the flaky sea salt. She says you could use kosher, but I have this. Maldon. And it really is a nice flaky salt. Let's see if I could give you a good, you see that? I'm just going to give it a little sprinkle. My oven has been preheating for almost an hour. It's going to bake for, I'm not using my convection. I'm just using regular at 450. I rarely adjust my oven temperature for convection. You can make it maybe 25 degrees lower. I let it, if it says 350, I'll use it 350 on convection, and I just check it anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes sooner than the time is asking, unless it's cookies. If cookies are only supposed to be in there 7 minutes, at 3.5 minutes, I check them and usually flip them around. Anyway, not to confuse you, 450 for 22 to 25 minutes. She does it for 25 because they prefer a crisp edge. I'm going to cut this for sandwiches, so I don't think I'm going to go that crispy, but we'll come back when it's finished. And there you have it, friends. Look at that beautiful brown top. It's fluffy, soft. It's a wonderful focaccia. It's an easy recipe. It smells like heaven. It tastes even better. You should definitely try it. Check the description box for the link. Until next time, go create something wonderful. Bye-bye now.